Whether you're watching, listening or reading this, welcome back to the Runpreneur vlog, where we're on a mission to raise £1 million for children's charities by run vlogging on consecutive days the distance of one lap around the world. It's a staggering 40,075 kilometres. It's going to take somewhere in the region of 11 years to accomplish. I'm going to commit to doing at least 5 kilometres every day, and I'll even do it barefoot style. So for those regulars who know that I vlog about my passions, which are entrepreneurship and running, and most importantly how these topics link together to help people overcome the emotions of stress, overwhelm and anxiety by using exercise as a release mechanism. It is a lovely morning today. It's about 10-11 degrees. The sun is intermittently coming out, so it's a bit breezy but nice running conditions. And it is Sunday run day today, when we talk about all things running. And today's topic is how to choose your running shoes. So as always, if you like this episode, please give it a like and a subscribe and support the challenge. And let's get started. So, running shoes. Okay, this is a massive topic, and there's so many different pieces of information and evidence out there suggesting you should do this, you should do that, and ultimately, in my opinion, there's no one size that fits all, excuse the pun, but ultimately, I mean, why do we wear running footwear? I think that's a really good starting point for where we can kind of begin to make these decisions. And there's 3 real reasons predominantly why you wear running footwear. Number 1 is injury prevention. Number 2 is your foot arch support. And number 3 is performance enhancement. Okay, they're predominantly the 3 reasons why anybody would wear running footwear. Okay, so all of the reasons will generally come under one of those categories. So you want to go through these kind of questions you want to be asking yourself to kind of almost give you the information you need to decide on what type of running footwear you're going to go for and why. So if we go to injury prevention as point number 1, okay, there's ultimately running can be a brutal sport. It is repetition at its max. So if you look at, I'm just doing the same motion over and over and over again every single day, and the key part to understand here is with repetition is running technique. Okay, we as human beings were made to be able to run. We're also made to be able to run barefoot. Now I'm not saying for a second here run barefoot style, because as evolution has happened, we've become so accustomed to using footwear that our form and our technique in motion and movement changes over the course of time. Put it in perspective, when I transitioned to barefoot running, it took me a year to do it, and I had 6 calf muscle tears that were pretty significant. So clearly my body wasn't used to what it was originally set out to do. So when you're looking at injury prevention, it's about running form, and it's about if you're running slightly out in any capacity when you run, so maybe your ankles are slightly pronounced, or I think it's a pronation or supination are the terms, whether your ankle rolls more one way or other when you land. In an ideal world, you want to land as perpendicular as possible, so your ankles are straight in line with the ground that it lands. And if you're slightly out, the course of the repetition of running is going to put enhanced stress and duress, not just on your ankle, but the rest of your body, because it's all linked. So, people that have running form issues might have calf-related issues, or hamstring, or quadricep, or glutes, or joint-related issues. So advancements in running footwear now is you can get gait analysis. Okay, now some people swear by this, some people say it's got no real evidence that suggests it works, but ultimately when you buy a pair of running shoes, you go into a specialist running footwear shop that have a treadmill and a camera set up, so it basically videos your heels from behind you as you land on the treadmill. And what it's trying to do is they'll put you in a pair of neutral trainers, so neutral support, and they'll see how your ankle lands. Is it perpendicular with the ground? If it's perpendicular, you have a neutral running stance. If you have a neutral running stance, they'll give you footwear that has no increased support one side or the other. So that's a really good exercise to undertake, because if you are struggling with pronation or supination, where your ankle's rolling more one way or the other when you land, that's going to be an injury waiting to happen. So gait analysis will allow you to select footwear that corrects your running position. So there'll be slightly more support on one side of the shoe, so it corrects your position when you land. And the argument is that when you do that for a period of time, the next time you come back, they'll try you neutral again, and you should have corrected your running form, your running issue. So that's a main way that running footwear can help correct your running form. I've done it. I used to use gait analysis all the time, and I needed some significant support in my footwear to begin with. But as I ran more and more with the support, it made me more of a neutral landing. So I corrected myself. And then ultimately, if you ever switch to barefoot running, it's so painful. If you don't run with the correct running form, it also helps you correct any technical issues. So that's one of the key things. So if you're not sure, or you get any form of discomfort after you run, then it's worth getting your gait checked, just to make sure that there's no issues with your technique. It may also be worth checking in with a physiotherapist or someone who can assess your joints and muscles to make sure there's no underlying condition there. So the next one is the arch support. Some people have really arched footwells, other people have very flat, and there's pros and cons to each. But ultimately, if you've got a certain type of arch that affects your running form, you can struggle with, I can't remember the exact term, I've had it before, plantar fasciitis, that's it. Whereas it's the kind of tendons and ligaments in the sole of your foot that are linked to your Achilles tendon, which if you're more arched, they kind of stretch further than if they're flat. So it can kind of, you want to obviously take into consideration the arch in your foot well, and you might need supportive insoles, or you can just get away with standard footwear. But the plantar fasciitis is horrible. If you get it, you can be out for up to 6 months. It's basically like walking on needles. So you want to take this in consideration if you do have a particularly high foot arch, and consider what footwear can provide you to support that. So these are the questions you need to be asking yourself first and foremost. The next one is performance enhancement. Okay, we have heard about Nike 4%, or I think the Vaporflies are what they're more commonly known as. And basically what they do is they have a carbon plate which elevates the heel of your foot. Now, if you look at the top athletes when they run, they're always on the balls of their feet. So they're almost like running on tiptoes to a degree, okay? Because you land lighter and you get more push off the ground in that form. Flat-footed runners, you almost it's almost like resistance when you run. So it's all about running efficiency. So Vaporflies, for example, they will elevate your heel so that you're almost, the only analogy I can give you is like running with like running blocks when you start a race on the track. You've got that elevation to give you the push forward, so that every stride is pushing you forward to some degree, because your heels are up, so pushing you forward, rather than flat, or some people heel strike, which is the polar opposite, which is like resistance every stride. So performance enhancement is another one, and you can get footwear now that's so light that doesn't have any extra weight for you. You can have the 4% with carbon plates in them. So technology advancements are, 4% gain over a course of a marathon is a significant advantage. And I think the last, I can't remember, 20 or 30 major marathon winners have all been wearing the same footwear. I think the Nike Vaporflies, I can't remember the exact model now, but because there's been so many different versions of them, but every single one of them has been wearing it. So that says it's enough in its own right that there's performance enhancements you can certainly generate from footwear. So the next consideration is brand. Okay, and well, I run. What do I run in, and why do I run in it? Well, cut a long story short, I run in Vibram V Runs. It's barefoot, 5-finger footwear, 5-toe footwear if you like, which is barefoot style. So it's like running barefoot, or there's a kind of a very thin tyre tread on the bottom. So I'm not getting like standing on thorns and pebbles. I feel them. I feel everything underneath my feet, but they ultimately don't cause me as much discomfort if I was running completely barefoot. And it stops with like scrapes and grazes and stuff, which is obviously pretty nasty if you do stuff barefoot. So, but I run in that because I did a fundraising world record challenge of being the fastest male marathon runner dressed as a ninja, and part of the outfit was barefoot split toe footwear. So I had to make that transition to be able to complete that world record. Fortunately, I managed to break it, and I am the current world record holder to be as the fastest male marathon runner dressed as a ninja. So there you go, 3 hours 55. But anyway, so that's fine. Since I put so much effort in, and since I enjoy running barefoot now, I see no reason to go back. It's almost like a badge of honour because it's quite a hard thing to do. So that's why. And also, since I've been barefoot, touch wood, and I've actually made the transition, I haven't got injured. And I think that's because my running form has corrected itself because of the pain involved with running out of sync or out of form with barefoot style. Now, prior to this, I started running in Asics, and then I switched over to Mizuno, and then I switched over to Brooks. And there's no, I stuck with Brooks for a while. They were the ones I was probably most loyal with before switching over to Vibrams. But what you find is that it's how it feels, and you've got to get a footwear that has the right fit. Now, if you go to a proper shop that does this, they'll make sure it fits, because you should have about a thumb's worth from your big toe to the end of the foot, because so you're not cramping your toes. If you do that, you're just going to get blisters. So you've got to make sure you get the right fit, and a decent running shop will allow you to understand and get the right fit. Secondly, they should be basically feel like slippers. The more comfortable and cushioning they feel, that's probably a better fit for your foot. You'll try several varieties on, and you'll just find that one feels significantly more comfortable. And most running shops will let you do a little run around the car park or something just to check out it feels. And very, very quickly, you'll be able to determine what's the most comfortable fit for you. And when you've got the most comfort, you'll also feel more cushioned and more support. And that's ultimately what you're looking for when you're running. So that's how I would go about choosing, and that's what the process I've always taken. I've always done gait. I've always made sure I've been professionally fitted by a specialist running shop. I've always run in the footwear before purchasing it, and I've always picked the ones that fit and feel the most comfortable. And that's always been my kind of tactic of picking my footwear. So I hope this has been useful. A lot of considerations here, but the first part of this episode is probably the most poignant in injury prevention and foot arch. You need to understand those two concepts and ask the questions that I kind of took you through before choosing what footwear to kind of pick. Too many people just go online and pick a special offer of a pair of running trainers, and they'll either get the wrong size, they might be non-supportive when you need some support in pronation or supination, and without all that kind of due diligence that goes into this, you could be increasing the chance of injury as you're running in footwear that's not suitable for you. So I hope this has been useful. As always, if you've got any questions on this stuff, drop me a comment, I'll respond to everyone. If it's a bigger topic, I'll do a separate vlog episode and tag you in. Do keep up to date with the link in my bios, which is where you can keep up to date with my journey to raise £1 million for children's charities by run vlogging on consecutive days, the distance of one lap around the world. And also all of my content is always nicely catalogued in various formats so you can navigate around it and find relevant stuff nice and easily. So all that's left to say is that the Runpreneur vlog was always about the content, it was always about how the topics of entrepreneurship and running link with helping people overcome the emotions of stress, overwhelm and anxiety by using exercise, in my case run vlogging, as a release mechanism to kind of clear your head, process what's going on in your life, gain clarity, refocus and move on. If you don't have that process, these pressures in the form of stress will build up like pressure does in a pipe without a release valve. And if you don't release this pressure regularly, then these stresses are going to evolve into overwhelm. Now, overwhelm is when you've got too many things going on. You're just completely overwhelmed. It almost forces you to freeze or kind of have anesthesia, and then you drift into kind of a major issue of procrastination. At this point, if it's not resolved super quickly, this overwhelm kind of then evolves into panic and anxiety. And if you're not dealing with it at this stage, this is where you're flirting with the edges of mental health issues and mental health breakdown, which is something clearly you want to avoid. And in the analogy I've given you keep building that pressure up, the pressure's going to burst that pipe. So hopefully that spells the importance of understanding this. Now, I've been there. I've lost businesses because of this. I've lost business partners. I've almost been bankrupt. And believe you me, it is the worst experience I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. And there's no coincidence. In the last 11 months of doing this running blog, I've made more progress in my life in all facets than I have done in the previous 4 to 5 years. So there's enough social proof that this stuff works. So my pledge to you is that if you are struggling with this, drop me a message. There's no catch here whatsoever. Okay, Runpreneur vlog is not for profit, so there's no sale involved. Yes, we raise money for charities, but donations are always optional. So help is free. Let's jump on a call. I'll give you a step-by-step guide on how you can integrate some techniques into your life to get you back on the right path. And that's completely free. So the olive branch is there if you need it. So that's pretty much it for me today. As always, please support this challenge. Even if you can't support it financially, just a share and a subscribe can make such a difference in terms of the reach that we're going to try and generate with the vlog. And I'll leave you as always is stay positive, stay happy, and I'll see you tomorrow.